Hello and welcome. We'll be exploring the manufacturing and distribution industry in this next installment of our Career Exploration series. I'm Catherine Jones. I work for McHenry County College as the Associate Vice President of Workforce Development. And it's my pleasure to moderate these conversations and to have you meet some of our key employer partners and learn more about these industries that we'll be exploring. This series is brought to you in partnership with the McHenry County Workforce Network. We'll make sure that we share their contact information with you as one of the agencies that can support you in your own career exploration and development. So let's meet our panelists today. First, I want to introduce you to Danielle Rodriguez. She's joining us from Scot Forge. She joined the Scot Forge team in 2019 as administrative personnel for their Franklin Park location. Since then, she has trained to be a certified Level 2 magnetic particle inspector. We'll delve into that a little bit later. And plays a crucial role in the non-destructive examination flex labor team, traveling within all three of their locations, Spring Grove, Franklin Park, and performing the necessary testing for their customers. Also joining us today is Jackie Speciale. She is the Senior Manager of Finance, Purchasing, and Human Resources at her family's manufacturing business, Mac Automation Concepts, Inc. in Woodstock, Illinois, for more than 17 years. She's active with the McHenry County Economic Development Corporation, a member of the Woodstock Professional and Businesswomen, and our local SHRM chapter, the Society for Human Resource Management. Jackie enjoys relaying her love of manufacturing and lifelong learning to future generations. Here's one way that she does that. She participates in District 200, that's the Woodstock School District, Girls in Engineering, Math, and Science, and is a mentor with the Woodstock High School Incubator Program, where she guides students through a year-long entrepreneurship course. Jackie is a leading disaster services volunteer for the American Red Cross of Chicago and Northern Illinois. She serves on the City of Woodstock Plan Commission, the Board of Directors for Leadership Greater McHenry County, the Substance Abuse Coalition, the United Way Resource Allocation Committee, and is a member of the Rotary Club of Woodstock. In 2016, Jackie was named a McHenry County Woman of Distinction. It's important for me to mention all of those because we're going to talk a little bit today about work-life balance. Honestly, I don't know how Jackie has time to work, but she tells us that she does. So welcome to you. Thank you both for giving your time today and helping to share a little bit of insight for our folks that will be listening in. I have some questions for you. Jackie, may I start with you? What kind of person succeeds in manufacturing and distribution?
So I would start with Oscar Wilde. He said, be yourself because everybody else is already taken. And what I mean by that is if I have a table, and on the table I put mechanical pencils and straight edge and markers, crayons, and glitter, and I said build a house. Are you the type of person that would grab the mechanical pencil and the straight edge and sit down and maybe research it first and then start and design the house? Are you the type of person that would want to grab some friends, get together, and build a house together with them? So the kind of person that really succeeds in manufacturing or anywhere else is the person that really knows themselves and how they accomplish a mission and how that fits in with the greater mission.
Thank you. Danielle, you've moved from administrative office work to you're seeing all the different locations. You probably have an idea of who succeeds in manufacturing. What are you seeing?
So I would say someone who wants to be part of something that's bigger than them. someone who wants to see what it is that they're putting in for the future, for the next generation. And that's one thing that once I started working, because I would do little jobs here and there, helping out the guys on the shop floor. Once I saw that there is a final result and what it is, because we would just see bits and pieces, we wouldn't get the whole story of what this item is. Just knowing things are going to Mars, things are going for mining, things are going like underwater. It's amazing. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than anything.
Tell us a little bit more about the work that Scot Forge does. Why, when we're talking about careers, are you talking about Mars?
We created the wheels, the Perseverance and
Both of the rovers.
Both of them.
Yeah. And submarines. And,
Yes.
And so we often talk about those rewards in manufacturing. You can step back and say, I made that. I was a part of that. And I think that also goes to defining the kind of person who gets rewards from that. Thank you. I want to know a little bit more about your personal journey. So what prompted you to answer, you probably put an online application in because you saw a job description. How did you become a Scot Forge employee? And tell me a little bit about that and how you have now moved into testing.
So I started as a nanny. My career path was elsewhere. And one thing led to another, and it was mid-school year. And I had to find a job. But since it was so far into the school year, it couldn't be with another family. And I started applying for schedules that would fit my son's schedule. And that was third shift manufacturing. There, I was working at Motorola. And honestly, I thought you're not even going to be able to. It's going to be something different. You're with kids, what are you doing? And once I got there and I saw that how everything was made and how it was important, because these were radios for military, for different kinds of communications, like within our whole community. It just, that whole group I worked with gave kind of this feel of, we are important, what we're doing is important. And I saw that I really liked engineering, and that was something I wanted to look further into. Then there was an opening in Franklin Park, and my husband works in Franklin Park, so he was the one that said, let's try it, you're gonna try it. I'm like, but I like this, I like this. He's like, just try it. So I did, and then when we were I started talking to the guys on the shop floor. There was a team that would come and do the NDT testing, and just started communicating with them, talking, asking questions, and my supervisor was the one who was like, okay, you like it? Let's try it. We're gonna get you clues, we're gonna try it, we're gonna see how it goes. And then full-on trainings happened. I got certified and hired on for the flex team, so that gives me the ability to work in all three plants and also explore more departments within our shop floors.
And talk a little bit about the testing. How did you share with me how you describe the work you do to your son?
Okay, so we have three methods. There is magnetic particle, and that is we run current through these through our parts, and then we spray this iron filing bath. So what happens is when the current is activated around the part, any discontinuity, any disturbance in the material will pop out, and then you can investigate further if it is just a scratch or if it is a crack or something more dangerous for the life expectancy of this part. We also have dye penetrant, and that one is when we clean off the part and we add this red dye, let it seep pretty much, and through capillary action, the red dye will be, if there is anything, will be sucked in. Then once you wipe it off and add developer, which is like this baby powder kind of, it smells like it sometimes. It will soak it up, and you will be able to see what is there. And we have UT, and that is where my son gets the metal detector. We pretty much are doing ultrasounds, like what a mom gets done when she wants to see the baby or want to know if the baby's okay. That's what we do to these parts. But we check for air, like if there's air within the part or cracks, that will further shorten the life.
Thank you. I think that helps us understand just the technical knowledge that is involved, right? Let's debunk the myth, if anybody's remembering the old I Love Lucy, where the candy comes down the assembly line. That's not what manufacturing looks like. These are very technical, very high skilled, and you are engaging in day-to-day science as you do that. I think it's also interesting to share that Scot Forge is an employee-owned firm. And so there's no corporate, global ownership of that, but those decisions are made locally and they're made by you as employee owners. So I think that's an interesting thing as we examine manufacturing, particularly here in McHenry County. We have a wealth of manufacturers, still over 600 manufacturers operating here in the county, and all different kinds. We have local factories that belong to global organizations. We have employee-owned firms, and Jackie, we have family businesses. You've been there for 17 years. I'm guessing you had a choice. You didn't necessarily need to go into the family business. What compelled you and why are you still there?
Just like Danielle, my career path definitely was not a straight line. My father started the business because he was an inventor, and when I was 6 years old. So I grew up roller skating on the factory floor, helping out wherever needed, from mopping to sweeping to filing, to putting rivets in some of the products that we make. And I told myself, I am not going to be in manufacturing. I'm never going to live for my dad. And I didn't. I went to school for geochemistry and ended up with a horticulture degree. And I loved it. I loved plants. And then what I really liked about plants is I love their individual characteristics. And I love knowing the environment in which they thrive. And I moved back into the area, so I'm working at a local nursery. And I was working a lot of hours, and I just started a family. And my dad was like, "Why don't you just try manufacturing?" And I did, and I fell in love with it, and I didn't look back. And lo and behold, I'm in HR and finance, which both are very important in knowing and appreciating people's characteristics and creating that environment where they thrive.
Well, my dad was a teacher, and I told him I would never do anything in education. So I think that may be a lesson, be careful what you say early in your career. But it's interesting that I heard that you both were a little bit interrupted in career paths, and that is something we want to share. I've spoken with somebody else at Scot Forge, Danielle, and same thing. And there was an accidental getting into a class in high school, and then finding out that that's just really cool. And so just a nod to those who are listening in today. Allow yourself to be interrupted. If you're listening to this and you weren't thinking manufacturing, let's continue to talk and continue to explore. Jackie, we talked a little bit about kind of what makes you tick, but when you think about those character traits and skills, we talked about who might be a good fit for that, but expand on that a little, if you will.
The best thing I can tell people is there's two really important pronouns, your me and your we, okay? So your me I talked about. If you're gonna draw a house, what tools do you need and what people do you need to do it? The we is that people. A lot of times when you have a career or a job or whatever you're doing, you're not just bringing yourself to So what I mean by that is, what do you read? And what have you learned from that, and what inspires you? There's different books that speak to me and that helps me. What magazines do you subscribe to? And chances are, when you're taking classes, you are also creating these relationships that help you grow as a person, and you are bringing that with you as well to whatever organization you're working at. When we're interviewing candidates, a lot of times we talk to them about that ecosystem that we, do you still have professors that you reach out to, or people around that inspire you, and what resources are you bringing in addition to yours?
That's really important. And I think I would encourage individuals who are beginning to wonder if manufacturing is for them to go see, right? You began to see things once you got to the floor that you hadn't known about manufacturing before. And we talk about this concept of job shadowing. Our manufacturers here in the county will open their doors to you. You can reach out either to the Workforce Network or to McHenry County College and say, yeah, I'd love to go see manufacturing in action. I'd love to meet some of those people, understand what the we looks like for individuals. And so that's, it's low risk. It is an easy ask. You're not asking them to hire you. You're asking them to show you what gives them joy every day. And our manufacturers are more than happy to do that. As we counsel students to look to particular occupations, we want to make sure that they've got career potential, that they've got an industry that's going to be solid and provide for them. Manufacturing had gotten kind of a bad rap, that all the jobs were going overseas and that there was nothing positive about that. Yet, when I look at the economic modeling data, when I talk to employers, what I hear is we need really skilled people, we need more people, and our growth is constrained because we can't have a pipeline of folks. So Danielle, let me ask, let's talk about you and what you see for your future. Do you see career potential at Scot Forge?
As long as you're willing to learn, there is development everywhere. Just that wanting to receive all the knowledge that they are willing to give you, you can grow in all departments. And even we have some people that are from the shop floor and they have taken their expertise from the shop floor onto our office positions. And the plans are just different because they have a different point of view. So as you're willing to learn, you're going to be growing.
Thank you. And it's worth mentioning that your chairman of the board started out as an entry-level employee. John came, and I have to plug the fact that he's an alum of McHenry County College, of course, but he started out as an entry-level employee and is now in senior leadership. So that is also a story that is mirrored in terms of career potential. Jackie, what would you say is long-range outlook? What does 5, 10, 15 years out look like in your estimation?
I'm certain there will always be a role for manufacturing. I'm positive. Not only do we need things, we by nature are innovators and inventors and makers. And those two go hand in hand. You're a visionary, you're a maker, and that person that's really good at putting that pencil to paper to make that happen. And there's always cycles in industries, but manufacturing will always be a big part of the global and our local economy.
It's interesting here in McHenry County, we have such a diverse manufacturing base that whatever sector may be experiencing a downturn, there's probably one sector of our industry that is booming. And so I think that also goes to some of our economic stability here in the county. Danielle, I won't ask you this question because you're relatively new. to manufacturing. Jackie, you are fresh, but may have seen some things in manufacturing. How have you seen the industry change in the last 10 to 15 years in terms of technology and innovation?
Fast, very fast. You know, as a 6-year-old, you know, there was not many things that were plugged into the wall that we used to make our things. Now a lot of the tools that we have to make things are plugged into the wall, and it takes a different level to be able to operate them. What hasn't changed is the love of the craft and the love of doing it with the people that you work with.
So how, when everything begins to become more technical, how do you keep up? I saw you're reading, but as an organization, how does MAC stay current with where you need to be competitive?
Well, utilizing a lot of the local resources like trade schools, MCC, community college. Also, a lot of the different types of equipment that we have, they have training that goes with it, and then there's partnerships with state and nationwide organizations that have different ways of training on the technology and use it. And then it's that network, because there's the training to use the equipment, and then there's the training to really understand how to make it do what you want to do. And having that network of people that do it for other ways may help you learn how to use, you know, the machine or the equipment you're using the way you want to.
Thank you. Danielle, I'm guessing you may not, when you were being a nanny, have been able to describe what non-destructive testing was. I'm guessing that was fairly new to you. Tell us a little bit about how you were trained.
So when I saw the parts first, all I saw was these pretty pink parts. I'm like, oh my god, that's gorgeous. And I continued on. And then I'm like, why? why are they painting them? Why are they changing the color? And the guys were like, oh, that's dye penetrant. I'm like, uh-huh. What is that? Why? Why? And I was thinking that what they wanted to do was change the color of that material. I didn't know that it was to test it, to see if there was disturbances. And then once I started asking, and I found out that my supervisor started as an NDT tech, that was his thing. I was asking him about it on a one-on-one, and I remember like the information overload, and I just must have given him like a blank stare or something. He says, "Sorry, nerd talk," and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I'm never gonna understand this. What is this? Like, there's years and years and years of training for this. What am I doing?" And once he saw that I was trying to understand what it is that he was explaining, we started working on the shop floor, and he started with the simplest form, which was like a back reflection test. So that's pretty much, you just have to measure the part, and the length will be on the monitor, like a little scope, and you'll see on the other end. He was like, this is back reflection. Right. What is that? And that's when he gave me the example. So you know when you drop a ball and it bounces back, that's sound. Oh, that's what it is. And just going on and talking to the technicians and the different ways that they have of explaining things, just, not to say it, but it like dumbified it for me, so I was able to understand it. And then talking to those who explain it, like they were born to explain this, it's just amazing, because you understand everything that they are, you can see what it is that they're thinking with the way that they will just detail it. And once you're able to see how the test is or the method is performed, I am happy where I'm at.
That's awesome. So really a lot of modeling, learning from someone else. doesn't sound like you got shut up in a classroom for weeks and weeks on end.
Well, we do have training, like for the certification, but before that we have lots of hands-on, and we have like a buddy system, so you are partnered up with someone. Whenever you have questions, there's always a whole team behind you, so you don't necessarily just have to rely on one person. There's everybody, and at Scot Forge, the biggest thing, like why I love them so much, it doesn't matter what department you're from, you can go and ask anyone, oh, what is it that you do? And they will literally just open book, talk to you. As long as you're willing to receive what they're saying, everybody's welcome. And it's awesome because you get to learn so much about different departments. All within just
Jackie, that made me think of teamwork. What does teamwork look like at MAC?
MAC is, we have under 100 employees, and we make automation equipment. And the automation equipment that we make is conveyor systems, mainly for the plastics industry, which means everything we make is different almost every time, because everything plastic can be as small as a catheter or a baby bottle to as big as a toilet seat lid or half of the washing machine. So teamwork at MAC means we each have a department, and each department, like from fabrication to machining to welding, we need to work seamlessly between each other, not only with what we make, but when it goes from department to department, to recognize what's working and what's not. We kind of have this saying of fail fast. So it's recognize, okay, this is going to come together, this piece of our conveyor is going to come together with this next piece. And if it doesn't, it's working together to find a solution. And also, because we're a smaller company, a lot of our departments are cross-trained. So somebody that is, good at operating one machine in a fabrication plant may also be really good at creating that same piece of equipment that needs to get out the door the next day. So a lot of our teamwork is also understanding how to do a lot of the other departments' work to be able to pitch in where there's bottlenecks.
Talk a little bit about what your training process looks like to get to that cross-training. When somebody comes in, they don't know your procedures, your machines, and maybe they've taken some classes or they have an interest, but what does that journey look like as they come in as unskilled?
So we do very similar to Scot Forge, where we pair them with somebody in the department that's doing what they're going to be doing, and we actually also try to put them in a couple of different departments so that they can see and have done the job as much of their ability. So the best way to put it is they can catch what they're pitching and they can pitch what they're going to catch.
That is a great analogy. Thank you. We talked a little bit about the fact that you were both maybe interrupted to get into manufacturing. But Danielle, what has surprised you most in your career journey so far?
That I liked it. I honestly thought from going like sign language with babies and everything was baby proofing and just learning baby schedules to all of a sudden working with parts that are like 10 times my weight. I'm surprised that I like it as much as I do. I was like the girly one in the family, so they're just like office, and tried the office. I love the office. I love my people in the office, but the bonds that you build on the shop floor are something you will always cherish.
What did your family say when you said you were going to go into manufacturing? Did anybody say, "Oh, that's not a good move"?
Well, my husband was like, yes. And then my dad and my mom, they're just like, but it's like office, right? It's like office work. sent them the picture.
Oh,
That's what you're doing. Yeah. And they've all been really supportive. All I would worry about was the little weak arms, but yeah, the shop floor fixes that.
Oh, how true. Jackie, you're not Nikki. I talked to Nikki too much this week. Jackie.
she's great though, so I highly recommend everyone talk to Nikki a lot.
Yes, so Nikki has been a guest at some of these talks before. Nikki Sullivan is the continuing improvement process director at General Kinematics, another one of our employer partners that you'll get to meet as you hang around with some of these career explorations. But Jackie, what has surprised you the most in these years, and reflect back on what other people have shared with you that has surprised them?
Actually, I have the same answer as her, as I can't believe how much I liked it. And what's interesting to me is people that meet me now, they can't believe I've done anything besides manufacturing, which kind of surprises me a little bit because I had such a background in horticulture. The other thing that surprised me is I always kind of had this interpretation of manufacturing as like these siloed organizations, right, where you go into your company and everything happens inside those walls. I haven't found that to be true at all. A lot of us, it's almost like part of the fabric that's weaved into the community, and that's what I really love about it as well, is those partnerships that you have, like, with MCC. But now that I know Danielle, I'm gonna keep in contact with her, and that's gonna make us all better. So I think a lot of it is that being part of the whole community part of manufacturing is what's kind of surprised me the most.
Well, since I accidentally mentioned Nikki's name and you mentioned community and partnership, this is a reasonable time to talk about the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium. And the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium is a group of now 47 manufacturers who are working together to make sure that you all know about great careers in manufacturing. They are supported in that work by every high school within our educational district and our four-year colleges and universities along with MCC, and then about 28, 29 community partners, our chambers, our villages and cities and economic development partners. They are all invested in making sure that you all know about potential careers and opportunities within manufacturing. No one company can do it alone. We held a job fair yesterday here at McHenry County College, and our manufacturers were all co-located together. And you could see the power of this industry in McHenry County. And so I think that, I don't want it to surprise anyone, but when I talk to my colleagues across the country and across the state, the partnership and collaboration that we have here in McHenry is a little different than what I see in some places. And the ability to build relationships between organizations as you're learning and growing is definitely a part of the opportunities here. Jackie, I'm going to go to you on this one. As I read your bio, you have a lot of outside interests. And I know folks wonder a lot about work-life balance. And would you talk a little bit about how you're able to bring your whole self to both your work and your community? And talk a little bit about your disaster relief work. The last I heard, Jackie, was I got in my car to go to a meeting, and there she was on public radio coming out of my car speaker. And then the next morning I go to a lot of meetings. I got in my car to go to another meeting, and there was Jackie coming out of my car radio again, talking about your volunteerism. So talk to us about how you're able to balance all of that.
So work-life balance, I get this question a lot because it looks like I do so much, but we all do so much. So work-life balance is so important, and it's really what you make it. I am a disaster responder. A lot of people ask, how did you get into that? My short answer is I'm the oldest of 5 redheads, so I've been training for it my whole life. But the long answer is that really work-life balance is what makes both your worlds so much more enriched. So for example, there's a lot of amazing things you learn in manufacturing, things like process improvement and throughput and fail fast. Well, if I'm tasked, for example, in a hurricane, with trying to figure out how to feed hundreds of people the most effective way, a lot of those manufacturing skill sets are fantastic at helping me do that. And they're fantastic at helping me work on a team. Now, in the disaster world, a lot of the things that you do is you work with a lot of people you've never had to work with before. Sometimes the weather is not great. Sometimes there's no power. Sometimes you're tired and cold or too hot. And sometimes you don't have everything you need. And you learn a lot operating through that in order to achieve a goal with a lot of people. And I bring a lot of that back to me with manufacturing. And a lot of the other things in the disaster world is the incident command system. So guess what? Every year we do a physical inventory. I've actually implemented the incident command system to do our physical inventory, and it's fun. The employees kind of like it. We have a forward operating base, and we have a command center, and it actually helps improve both. A great example is this year when we were doing the mass vaccination sites, one of my roles was to help support at the United Center. So one of the things we started doing was measuring throughput at every section. And they loved that idea. And that really helped us understand, hey, where are our bottlenecks? How can we be more effective at making sure people can get to each section and identify quickly when things aren't working.
Thank you. I know you also talked about, when I heard that radio interview, you talked about the way people at MAC step up to make it possible for you to go away.
Yeah, actually that's very important. And sometimes in smaller companies, upward mobility is kind of a challenge. Not at MAC. So for example, when I go, there's 3 people that they step up. I have taught them to do everything I do, so I'm completely replaceable. Which may sound scary, but I consider that a badge of honor. Because I know in my organization that if I am not there, that job that's really important to be done is done. And that's really, and I call them, they're my Lauras. There's 2 people named Laura, and they can do exactly everything we need to do. They joke about being Alfred to me being Batman. So, but they love it too. And that's really the important part about me being able to go and use these skill sets to help people that are experiencing things like tornadoes or disasters is I'm not just helping. There's usually 3 or 4 people behind me that are making that happen. And that helps strengthen them, and they feel better, about what they're doing. And it helps our company too.
Thank you. Danielle, let's talk work-life balance for you. You're a young professional. You shared that you initially started looking at manufacturing because the schedule worked with parenting. Now I'm reading that you're driving all around doing your work. And I also know that folks work really hard at Scot Forge. So what's work-life balance look like now for you?
I've been very fortunate that the people that I've worked with, they've all been able to be flexible, where everybody communicates well when it is that we need certain things done, or if we need time off and whatnot. We all work with each other to be able to have it handled.
I want that to be pretty clear too. You're hearing about 2 firms here, but the reliance on teamwork, the opportunity to step up, the being there for each other, that I have seen that demonstrated. You talk a little bit about falling in love. I have fallen in love with manufacturing. I think it started early on when I got to go to the potato chip factory and a school tour, and I've just been fascinated with how things are made. And so I have the best job in the world because I get to go look at the parts that are being made for things like the road rail that they don't tell me because that's classified. And I get to see automation, and I get to visit in our companies, so I have an eye towards all of the fascinating things that are made right here in McHenry County. Right? So if you like pickles, every Clausen dill pickle in the country is packaged in Woodstock. All of the thermometer covers for healthcare are made in Huntley at Tech. So there's just so much. If you haven't followed manufacturing, it's like this onion that you can keep peeling back. I'm going to challenge you as you're driving around the county to watch for our manufacturing sites. They're not easy to find. We tuck them in industrial parks and on the edges of towns, but they're there. When you go to the Walmart in Woodstock, if you are observant, you will find mock automation. As you're driving towards Woodstock, those cool robotic lawnmowers are distracting you from seeing Charter Durabar and Woodstock Sterile Solutions. So that's a challenge for you as we begin to think about building careers in manufacturing, of just watching what the diversity is in manufacturing across this county. Let's begin to think about career paths. So Danielle, you told us about a career path that brought you from the office to testing. What are some of the other career paths that you see for folks at Scot Forge?
We have lots of departments in the office. We have saw shop, machine shop, mat lab, heat treat, the forge. I love the forge.
Tell us a little bit about the forge.
My husband works in the forge.
So share with our audience a little bit about what a day in the forge is like.
So there's 4-man crews, and there's a helper. Then there's in Spring Grove they use presses. So there are 2 drivers, and then there's someone who is. It looks like this whole gaming system, and they're controlling the press with that. In Franklin Park, we have the same 4-man crew, but it's a helper, a driver, and then a blacksmith and a hammer operator. And theirs is kind of more hands-on because it's not with the press. The press is not mechanical. You're running it. But pretty much, I don't know all their details. All I know is like my husband started as a helper, so he would have to set it up for them in the morning, and then once he became a blacksmith, he would schedule the things out for his crew in the morning, and then, he was a hammer driver, so that's when he would do the schedule. Then with the blacksmith, he was training the next stop, and then now he's the supervisor, so now he has to schedule the whole forge.
Sounds like career progression. No, forging is absolutely amazing. It's huge furnace, the metal goes in, it's just orange hot. It's this beautiful glow. And then you talked about that panel that looks like a video game, talk about high tech, and then it's this beautiful dance. It's almost as if you're watching choreography of working that metal into shape. It's something, and there's actually video of that on Scot Forge's website if you want to take a look at what forging is. So yeah, I'm hearing a lot of career paths to all the different kind of functional areas, and then that just trying hard, rise into the next level, rise into the next level. Thank you. Jackie, a little bit about what, and not necessarily just at Mac, but career paths. You've got a wide perspective on industry in the county.
like charts and facts. But according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in manufacturing, only 51% of the positions are in production. So the other 49% are your support functions, your shipping, your receiving, they're your sales, your marketing. At Mac Automation, it's kind of interesting. We have a lot of different departments similar to Scot. You have your machining, your welding, your fabrication, assembly, creating, painting. We even have a sewing department. And we have some of the people in our sales department, they started in creating or fabrication, and they've moved their way up to lead positions in our sales department. And then what's interesting about personalities is some of the people, their career path has been, they came into one area, which is assembling these bins that we have, and we have this employee that loves it, and he's great at it. And we're like, great, do you want to move on to something else? And he's like, no, I want to stay here. I want to own this. I love this. And that's what we did. We've supported him and said, okay, you've owned this. You love this. Let's give you a team to mentor other people. Do you want to do that? Yes, that's great. Then we trained him how to mentor other people, and he fell in love with that too. So my answer to career paths is some people, they want to move from one thing to the next, and I've seen that happen in my husband's in manufacturing as well. And some people, they want to stay where they're at and enhance it and own it and love it too. And I've seen both of those work very well for many people inside Mac Automation and my experience just being in the industry and seeing others.
You mentioned mentoring. Talk a little bit about how you use explain mentoring in your terms. Talk a little bit about how you use that at Mac, but also how you have mentored at D200, and a little bit about how you expose those students to manufacturing. I'm remembering a couple of work sessions that we held at Mac Automation.
Yes, we call it the Mac Summit. So Incubator is this wonderful curriculum, in my opinion, for high school students. It's like Manufacturing 101 meets Shark Tank, where the students go through a whole year of literally starting their own company, and that could, by their choice, be either a service or a product. And then they're paired with professionals from different companies in the area to help guide them through this process. So I've been a mentor with the Woodstock High School's incubator program since 2016, I want to say. And it's one of the best things I think that's ever happened to the high school, and it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So the Mac Summit, what we do is we bring the students in the week before they have to do a big pitch. And we have them sit in different conference rooms and really work on their product or their service and their company and how they're going to present it. And the other thing I do is I take the students through Mac Automation and I show them every step of the company. And that's another favorite part of mine, because that's when you see personalities and where each one is interested in some part of it or another. Some of them are interested in what does the engineers do? Some are interested in, hey, how did you decide to lay out the plant this way? So it's very fascinating to see the different questions that we get from the different students. And actually, I learn a lot from them as well.
My favorite part was how you get the raw material to not jam up, right? It was the simplest thing, but the uniqueness and the innovation that went into some of that. Thank you. We're really talking to folks who are thinking about how to begin a career in manufacturing. Danielle, you talked about not having a lot of experience or manufacturing skills when you went in. Good with people, I'm thinking, if you were dealing with children. As you have looked around Scott Forge, what's the level of skill and how much education do you need to get started?
High school diploma or GED, and wanting to learn. You will get very far when you ask questions and you actually find something that you're interested in. There's plenty of departments you can try before you decide. And even then, once you have chosen a department, you always have the ability to move further.
And Jackie, how about at Mac?
Same thing, high school diploma, the love of learning, and I just talk about this a lot, but then knowing yourself. And it's, do you want to work on a team, or do you want to work on your own? And you know, what fills your heart with joy? If you're going to get started, the best thing you can do is think about why you like what you like. So, for example, like I love like movies about the space program. And I don't identify as much with the astronauts as I do with mission control. I love those folks. I love the guys figuring out the go, no go, and solving problems as they go, and that's what I identify with. And lo and behold, I'm in finance, which I consider mission control for any organization, and human resources, which is creating that environment for people. And then other folks, if you're watching how it's made, what is it about that you like? Do you like trying to figure out the machine, or do you like trying to figure out how they invented the product? And I think a lot of that will help you figure out where you're going to fit in manufacturing, and where manufacturing needs you. Because remember, it's not just about what you can do, it's also about what you can do that they need. And I think that also helps you really love your job.
It's interesting, we used to talk about college or career, and that was kind of a ridiculous construct because we all have careers, right? And we all need some training and education beyond high school. You've both talked to your learning journeys, but it doesn't have to happen in this linear fashion anymore. The fact that you can come in and get an entry-level job. Most of our companies have tuition benefits so that you can continue your learning journey as you begin to build your work experience. Scott Forge is also one of our apprenticeship companies. Let me just real quickly explain apprenticeship, because that is an opportunity that pairs work and school together. And a low-skilled or unskilled person can come in, be hired by one of our companies, and then the company assigns you a mentor. We were talking about that mentorship, to work side by side with you as you also complete an associate's degree in engineering technology and either a certificate in CNC machining or industrial maintenance technology. So apprenticeship is yet another way to enter a career and to pair education with work. And so we've talked about job shadowing, we talked about apprenticeship, we should also talk about internship. Jackie, I know that you have partnered with Workforce Network on internships. Will you talk a little bit about how that works?
We love it. Actually, 4 of our employees are from our partnerships with McHenry County Workforce Network. 1 was an IT intern, 1 was a project management intern that was just looking to get her foot into manufacturing and go off to a large company. And I met her and I was like, she's perfect. And the more we started working together, the more, she kind of fell in love with manufacturing, and her and I are aligned in the morals of, manufacturing is part of the community, right? So if we do well, then, we help the community, and we're part of that too, and that's what kind of drew her in, and she's a great asset to our team. She's one of my 3 people, actually, that fills in for me. But, sorry, I went off on a side note. But yes, so McHenry County Workforce said, here, I have this person, they have this skill set, and they want to enhance it. Can they work with you for several months? And we develop what it is that they're going to do. We actually put it in writing, and hey, what is it that they want to do? We talk with the intern as well. What is it that you're seeking from this experience? And actually, all 4 of the interns that we have are full-time, very valuable employees.
Yeah, so I talk about an internship as being kind of the middle ground. Job shadowing, that's a quick, you're just learning and making some relationships, learning about an organization. With apprenticeship, that's the other end of the scale. You are a permanent employee and the company is investing in your education. Internship is that middle way, where it's a temporary, I'm going to say, try before you buy, because it works that way for the job seeker and for the employer, making sure that there is that good match there and that good chemistry. So that is yet another way to begin that entry into manufacturing. We're coming near a close, but I've been asking all of the questions. What have I missed? What do you each want to say about careers in manufacturing?
I would say manufacturing is not what everybody makes it out to seem like. That is this last resort, or like that's kind of where I was at, where I thought, oh my God, manufacturing, a factory, I have to be there, and it's just going to be dirty, and it's just going to be. It can be, but it's more than that. It's I feel that as long as you like innovating and as long as you like being part of projects, everything will work out. Everything, you will find something that works for you. Just like some people are really good at numbers and they find that working with machines was their thing. We have some badass guys who like will tell you the tops and everything of this machine, and meanwhile they weren't even trying to come into machinery. It's just, it's not scary, it's not, you shouldn't just look past it. Try it.
Yeah, we're trying to bust the myth of dark, dirty, dangerous, because it's not. There's been such a focus on safety, innovation, automation along the way that if we've gotten through to anybody, my ask is always that you tell a person who'll tell a person who'll tell a person. I'm a big one for ripples in a pond, and so my hope is that this starts some ripples for folks and that we begin to continue to share the word about career potential. Jackie, what did I miss asking you?
I think it's important to know it's not just about making things. And Danielle really added to this. It's also about making memories. a lot of what you're doing is you're very proud of your output, but you're also really proud of the story of how you make things and the connections that you make with it. And you know, when you're telling the story about, well, how am I ever going to understand what they said? I was like, oh, what do you mean? You've got to believe in yourself. You can learn this, and she's right. You can absolutely learn whatever you see and you think it looks very complicated. First of all, it's probably not. And second of all, there is somebody that's going to be really good at explaining it to you. And going through that experience is fantastic. And you get proud of yourself, and then you build bonds in the meantime. So definitely give manufacturing a chance.
Yeah, you remind me of a story from my personal life. My daughter, it was during her early years of college. She was working for Alpha Swiss in quality, and Alpha Swiss makes teeny tiny parts, a little bit smaller than Scot Forge does, and so her quality work was under a microscope. And she had a good first week, it was going well, and she was enjoying the work. But the next week she came home and she said, Mom, I'm saving lives. And I said, do tell, how are you saving lives? I thought you were doing quality. And she explained that the part that was moving through her hands was going into pacemakers. And that quality needed to be such that she literally could say, I helped save lives. And that was a foundational experience for her. She's also somebody that got interrupted into manufacturing. She's an accountant. She's studying for her CPA, but she's working for a tax firm in their manufacturing and distribution practice. And it goes back to her experience of being interrupted and seeing the inside of manufacturing, not just the outside or the stereotypes. The one thing I would be remiss if I didn't ask, since I have two women on the stage with me, what's the role for women in manufacturing? Danielle?
Be a badass. Yes.
Enough said. Jackie? Top that.
I'm not competitive, so I'm always like, oh, let's help each other win. But that's actually what it is. It's what you make of it. It really is.
Yeah, don't think that the doors to women are closed. There is, as with anything in the STEM and STEAM fields, a lot of potential for everybody. Manufacturing is diverse, it is inclusive, it is full of opportunity. So, yeah, let's continue to check it out. You can connect with us here at McHenry County College, connect with our partners at McHenry County Workforce Network, or check in with any of our manufacturers. They're going to open their doors to you. So thank you, both of you, Danielle and Jackie, for being with us today and for helping expose folks to a little more information about careers in manufacturing. Thank you.